Okay, so mhm. Mm, mm, mm. Okay. Hey Cora, how you doing? Hey Cora,
Hi,
how are you?
good.
Good.
So I guess my question is, if I got my certificate, do I still need to come to the classes?
No, you don't. You don't need to go at all.
Okay.
We would miss you,
No,
but
I mean I don't mind coming, but I just wanted to know.
yeah, part
I
of
just
this.
want to get a better grade though.
So,
Go for it.
so part of this is, um, not only is it self-paced, right? So you can come in and come as you want to, but we talk about things in class.
Okay.
Next week we're going to actually have the instructor from Santa Rosa. He's actually a professor who teaches cybersecurity class for the Santa Rosa College. And this guy,
Okay.
he teaches a whole suite of cybersecurity applications. And if you wanted to find out what your next steps are to get a career, this guy can answer that question for you. This is
Okay.
William Steven. He's a really smart guy. He helped me get my class started here for us. And this guy basically trains people to go out in the world to do this. And so he will be here. Please have your questions ready for him. And when you see him next week,
Okay.
I want you guys to ask him if you want to know about what your next steps are to go forward. What can you do with these certs? What type of jobs can you get now with what you've learned? Maybe, where can you get an internship? How can you get some actual experience doing these things? He can answer all those questions for you.
I'm still coming. I just wanted to know just in case I had a minor emergency with my darling 4-year-old.
No, please. Like I said, a lot of this class time we're having lately, like this class is very long. I'm gonna give you guys more and more time in class to do this class. And so literally if you've already done the work, I mean you could just stay till we're done talking and then leave. I do have an attendance sheet, which I fill out, which is absent, engaged, or participant, which just basically shows if you're not here or if you're actually here just learning as well. So yeah, I guess it goes towards like your overall accomplishments, but if you complete the class, that's the major part of the class. If that makes sense.
Okay. Nope, you stuck seeing my face until we're done.
Ha! And please make sure that Michelle Stallberg sent everyone an email with like a basically like a
Survey, I did
yes.
it.
Thank you very much. I
I'm a little
appreciate you.
OCD, so the only thing I'm still having problems with is I think, well, because I was trying to do it all day because I know I have midterms and final coming up, so I didn't want to wait like I did last time. But I can't do the end of the class feedback. So that's
Okay,
the only thing I'm having trouble with. Other
sure.
than that, everything is done.
Okay, awesome. I appreciate you. So get everyone checked in here. Give us a couple more minutes. Let's see where it is. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I've seen some people went ahead and got a lot of the quizzes done, which is pretty cool. So please make sure you are doing your quizzes, okay, everybody?
Yes, sir.
Um, Anybody here waiting to come in? Hey, Juliana, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing good.
What's new, sister?
Huh?
What's new?
I'm trying to think of what's new. Nothing much. I just been trying to do, SAT prep and dealing with classes, so and keeping up with this. So that's about it.
Okay, good. You do your last week's quiz by chance?
Yes.
Awesome. Hey, Lori, good to see you.
Hi there. Paying attention to the presidential debate?
It is going on behind us. I have one ear on it. I watched this and just until we started this class, I was on it.
How's your week been so far?
Been good, a lot going on. Cybersecurity. As I told Cora a minute ago, we locked down a very good special guest speaker next week. He is the man who teaches the Santa Rosa College for the cybersecurity suite. So this is a guy that can help you get to know exactly what next steps you'll need to take to get a job here, if there's internship available, and what steps you should take to keep pursuing a career after our classes are done.
Oh, great.
And I believe I'm working on Mario right now. They're offering a new cybersecurity class, cyber ops class at the JC, and they're gonna probably have me instruct it after next year. It'll probably be a class like this,
That's fantastic.
have to learn. So please keep watching the flyers. So there'll be some more offerings for you guys for cybersecurity and other things like that.
I had to work from home today, and it seems like every other day I'm making a big move because I'm having to go in and out of the office.
Oh, that's horrible. Do you live close by your office?
I work in Fairfield and I live in Napa, but the commute's nothing.
Yeah.
It's just that we're considered essential employees, and what we've been doing is helping people with the fire. What I do is I'm an appraiser for property taxes, and we're having to reduce property taxes because of the fire.
Isn't there a proposed bill in the election for that too?
Yeah and no. That bill is really misleading because it's already pretty much intact to do that. But it's certain, there's 13 counties that will allow you to transfer your tax base. And if you're moving to one of those, then you can. If it's not one of them, then you can't, of course. But you have to buy down. You can't buy a house of higher value and take
Oh,
your
weird.
tax base.
Weird.
Yeah. So and sadly, the people are not educated about that, and they don't check into it before they start with all the process, and then they get caught and their agent doesn't know anything about it, and they're stuck with a higher tax bill.
That's horrible.
Oh,
Worst case scenario.
that people are just not educated about property taxes at all. And California is one of the best states for property taxes compared to the other states where you can buy a house for $100,000 and be taxed on $300,000 because your neighbors are selling their houses for that much. So anyway, that's just my opinion.
I'm with you. Because you guys are starting in. I want you guys know that we're having a guest speaker next week from Santa Rosa College. He teaches a whole suite of cybersecurity and other technology applications, and he will provide you with what your next steps are to pursue a career in cybersecurity, and not only cybersecurity, but other technical fields as well. So please, if you have any questions on what you might want to do or what your next steps might be, or if you're interested in going to his college and learning his courses, actually accredited courses, please have those questions ready. We'll have him for about the first half of the session, about a half hour or so. And oddly enough, we're going to have him on the internet's birthday, October 29th, which is pretty cool. Internet was born on October 29th, God, many, many years ago. And that's going to be pretty cool. So today, jump back into this class real quick. Let you guys see something really cool today, which I saw. Where are you? I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Can you guys all see my screen? Oh, there we go. So here we go. So from last year's cyber attacks on our election, and I guess for multiple attacks on Ukraine and in France, America's actually charged the 6 individuals, which were state-run operatives, with espionage and destructive malware and national cyber attacks. So not only our country is a multinational country operation, these 6 men, which there was probably a lot more, these 6 were caught. Well, they haven't been caught yet. These 6 men have been identified by America as the ones that we believe orchestrated the attacks. As you can see, some of them are actually, in the military, which obviously Russia's not taking any accountability for this. So it's on the individuals themselves. They're still on the run in Russia, and Russia's not turned them over to us anyway. So as far as it goes, these 6 men are very, very wanted right now by many countries. They actually did a lot of infiltrating in China after the doping scandal happened with the Russian Olympics or the Russian athletes. These men also launched a huge attack against China while they were there after basically Russia was removed from the Olympics that year. Was that 2018? So yeah, these 6 men right here are pretty wanted by the world right now. But like I said, just like Edward Snowden being in Russia, they're never going to be extradited. But they got 6 counts, and they know it's a state-run problem, as in they were funded by the Russian government. We still can't go after Russia for it or put sanctions on them because we really can't say it was them. But these 6 men have been identified as the culprits. So if you see these guys, call the police, tell them you know cybersecurity now, and you know what's up. So that was kind of crazy to read about today that they're actually trying to do something against them. Other than that, that's really all I had to share with you guys today. People had asked, what are the real types of trouble you can get into for cybersecurity. After hacking in multiple countries, taking down, I guess, which is kind of like some part of their financial system in Ukraine. They wired money to their own accounts, took down several parts of multiple governments, including France and China. I think that all we have on these guys is a 10-year case on them if they are caught. But as you see here, one of these infected computer dozens of hospitals and doctors' offices, and West Pennsylvania as well. They're only going to get 10 years. You know, I'm sure there'll be a lot of money involved with it too. But again, getting them extradited to us probably will never happen. But it seems like 10 years isn't a very stiff penalty for all the things that they did in this case. But that's just from America. It's hard to say if it's from like a coalition of countries that wanted to also put sanctions, but that's what America is charging them with. So they'll try to find some way to get them over here.
Hey, Travis.
Yeah.
When somebody like this does get caught, do they have to reimburse, or what happens to the money that they've stolen?
Yeah, you know, it's really hard to say. I mean, you think of someone like Experian, right? When they got caught and the billions of dollars that they lost. I mean, if it comes back to some kid that doesn't have a job, I mean, yeah, there's a financial fine, and that company could sue that person individually. But what can they essentially get? I mean, it's almost like anything else, any other trial. You know, you can only get what they're worth. I mean, they might have to pay sanctions for the rest of their life, maybe. You know, I'll always be kind of, what do you call that? Forced to pay money out of their checks or whatever, like just
Yeah.
them. But
Victim, like a victim account. But these people, they had, you know, other bank accounts, right, that they dumped this money in. So is the money recovered? And if so, what happens with that money?
So when I was reading about it, all it was telling me was that they saw several jumps, meaning that they saw money wired from one place to another, and then to another place, and then to multiple places until it kind of just goes away. So they can't trace the money back and see it in the account right now. They just saw the money leave. So there's always breadcrumbs there, and depending on you know, I guess on how fast they catch it and how much money they throw at trying to find it, will they be able to keep pursuing the money? But at some point, the money just gets dispersed to so many little accounts and jumps so many places that they can't track it anymore. So it's almost like trying to catch any kind of animal in the wilderness. You see a couple prints for a while, but after so long, you know, you can't catch. And that's hard, you know, especially when you're everything is done, you know, without a person's face. You really can't see what they're doing. You're trying to watch their IP address, but even with things like VPN and static VPNs, or sorry, virtual VPNs, the VPN you're chasing could go away within minutes, and they're actually somewhere else. It's like really just like this smoke and mirrors operation where you think you're one place, and all of a sudden all of your evidence is just gone, and where you're tracing is gone. It's very, very hard to track, and until you get it back down to one actual server where it's all at, where the numbers all keep matching up, can you actually find it? At the point they go to like 4 other places and 5 other places, those numbers stop not matching up, and so those hits you're having become less. They become less. The integrity is lost, and when you lose integrity, especially in a case trying to find money, you really don't have anything to go on anymore. So Russia's gotten pretty good at it. Anybody want to bring up anything that they learned today, or anything they learned in the last week about cybersecurity, or any questions you have about last week's chapter? I've seen a lot of people haven't been taking their quizzes. Again, this is self-paced. There's no rush, but please take your quizzes because they are the way that I judge on what to come in and teach you guys. The quizzes that we're taking were 100%. So good job, everyone that took the quiz. I think there's only 185%, but they weren't even finished yet. But these quizzes are getting very long. It was like a 20-question quiz. So please give yourself some time to do that. I'm going to grab a cup of coffee, and I'm going to stop talking. And I'm going to let you guys take this week 3 course. And I'll be here to work with you if you need any help. And I'll be right here with you guys.
Travis?
Yes.
It's Sue. I'm gonna probably take myself offline a little early, but I want to say, well, first off, I'm working on getting my quizzes done, but I was able to sit in on the link for the 2 women today that spoke,
Oh, cool.
and it was amazing. So I just want to share with everybody that the link that Travis sent, that actually was this week, not last week,
Yes.
of women that were like, they're just unbelievable in how their accomplishments and what they're doing for mentoring for other women in, one is a top CIA person, and then the other one, they knew each other, and just the whole collaboration and just things like that, just knowing that those kind of networking opportunities are there, and to hear from people at that level, I found it was really worthwhile, and I want to thank you for making that available.
Great. Yeah. Well, I was trying to find content to keep you guys engaged, and obviously, women in this area is not only really rare, but to see them at such a high level, like they are absolutely killing it. They're setting the standards. These women are doing amazing things. Like you said, top of the CIA doesn't get any bigger than that, and they're actually, it's a very good field.
Amazingly badass, and they were talking about issues that I think everybody can relate to, and particularly, women, and how just issues that are very pertinent. So a lot of it was around mentoring and then just hearing from them. But the conversation was really worthwhile. So opportunities like that, I think I certainly benefited from that. So I wanted to thank you.
I'll tell you this from many years in IT and just knowing coders and HTML editors. Women are not actually they're OCD, but they're very fine with details. And the women that in my field with SQL and HTML, they're very good at their job. I'm not gonna say they're way better than men, but they are the ones in the field I look up to a lot because they really have surpassed where we can go just in the detail orientation they have in this job. And so if anyone tells you IT is a boys club, it absolutely is not. But the best coders I've ever met are women. The best HTML programmers I've met are women as well. So it's not a boys club at all, believe me.
And they spoke about that, particularly like these are senior people that have been in it, and they actually did speak about definitely being one of the few females at certain times and how that's changing, and the different ways that they can elevate and bring up people, and some of the different opportunities. Among the takeaways was, how when somebody offers to mentor you or offers you a position to say yes, and different ways to navigate the world, particularly, I think most of the people on the Zoom meeting were either newer or middle, much lower down. So to be able to have the caliber of people speaking was really quite a big deal.
Did you ask a question? Did they ask you?
No, I just was listening in.
Okay. I'll try to find a link to that final video and add it to one of your emails so you guys can all check that out too. That's really cool. I'm glad you made it, Sue.
Yes, so I'm going to take myself offline to focus.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, so everyone, take this time, do the class. It's a long one. I'll be right here with you guys if you need any help. I'm going to be fishing around for some things on here, looking at some other cybersecurity issues in the world. If I find something cool, I'll point out to you guys, but please use this time because these quizzes are longer and these weeks are getting shorter. So please take this time now to finish the course for the week 3.
Where should we be at week 3?
What do you mean is that? Oh, so chapter 3? Chapter 3.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go offline too then. Okay.
No problem.
All right. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
I'm gonna grab a cup of coffee, guys. Hold on one second. Anybody have any questions about week 2? Was it pretty straightforward? Anything that makes sense to you guys? Sorry about that. Um, a couple of students have reached out to me about some resume help, and I want to let you guys know that I'm here to help you with your resumes for any kind of job you're getting. If you have a job you're trying to apply for, I can help you, manipulate your information so that it'll pass by the bots and will look good for an interviewer. I've hired many people through my previous employment, and I know what companies are looking for, and I know what terminology you're looking for based on what job you give me to look at. So if you have any questions, what kind of jobs in IT, or you just basically want to help spruce up your resume or anything like that, please, I'm also your technical resource. I'm here for anything like that for you guys. Not only cybersecurity involved, but anything. So please reach out to me, okay?
Hey, sorry, can you hear me? All right. I kind of wanted to ask, I was talking to a recruiter today, and he asked me sort of if I had an end goal, what would my end goal be? And I don't even know really how to get there with cybersecurity. I do reality capture, which is one of my big passions, which means I have a camera, scanners, drones, you name it, and I record real world items and I make digital copies of it to make what's called a digital twin. And something I would love to do is to actually use, depending on what level they need, a scanner of one sort or another to scan server racks for as-built information and design principle. But they're not going to let you in there unless you are accredited, like flat out.
Right.
Like how would you feel, what path would you feel is the best to go down? Like what avenues should you take?
So is your job, is it more physical, or like, so you're not asking for access to the servers, but you want to see them physically to make a more ergonomic way for them to be installed?
Well, like I can't give companies names, but for example, there's platforms that I'm going to say at least 90% of the people in this course use actively, and their servers are a mess.
Gotcha.
Like it's like they had a bunch of 19-year-olds just throw stuff together, and we're talking like parking lot size.
Like cable management type of thing, or?
Well, if you need to migrate your servers and things like that, and basically you want to now design the next parking lot server rack, you need to know what you have in the other one and how it's set up.
Right.
And what I wanted to do was to take, I've seen people try do it with drones, but you might not get very specific like ports and stuff documented. So I've designed a method of scanning where I can actually know where all the racks are, what's in the racks, and what ports are plugged in, and to a degree where the cables go, to a degree.
Okay.
But I mean, you can't just do it.
The hardest thing about that is, so you gotta think like, so you'd be a vendor, right? So you'd be a guy from the outside. Usually when you have an infrastructure that robust, I mean, you have more likely than a huge team of people that are already maintaining that. So if they're going to go to something bigger, you kind of have to think the people that were there were I guess, for the word, incompetent and couldn't do it themselves if they're hiring a vendor to come in and do it. But it's not uncommon for places that big to have vendors that not only move them, like if they're in a project, but maintain them as well. So I guess that what you'd have to do is try to find some type of infrastructure migration engineer and a company that did it for another company. Because if you just wanted to do that for company to company, it would obviously be a vendor, right? You'd be an outside person, but you'd also have to be, God, I wouldn't even know a company that would be willing to do, well, multiple companies that would do that. I mean, I guess the best place to start is to ask a company that has a farm infrastructure that big and ask them, when they moved it to where they are now, who did they use? And they might tell you, we did it all in-house. We hired guys just for that project. And that might be it, because I mean, you're thinking, you probably move something like that. You're moving the data to new hardware, right? You probably want to move the hardware to a new room. You probably move all the information into all brand new machines, right? What would you think?
Well, what you also got to remember, you get places like the company I used to work for about 5-6 years ago, where we migrated. I mean, I can say this now. AT&T's servers out in San Jose, they got moved to a new building. So we had to design the layouts of what the servers would look like. Obviously, I can't get into detail, but
sure.
Suffice to say that, I mean, there were several hundred racks on one floor. But you need to kind of have an as-built of what they were using to have a fair degree knowledge of where they need to be.
Let me ask you this: when you did that, so did they move from somewhere else into where you're moving them to, or were they putting all new information on all new hardware that you were building?
Almost entirely new hardware, but there are certain infrastructure things we had to design, like how the fiber comes into the building, how it goes from the MDF to the IDFs, then from each IDF, how it's distributed to each rack, how it's distributed to the cabinet. So what's in the cabinet, what's in the rack, then how does it go up onto the floors, whether it's going with ladder, whether it's going through tray, conduits, and then drops down into each desk or where the IP camera access ports or whatever.
On a much smaller scale, I remember at Sutter, a lot of that is done, that we were doing it with our fiber installations and point-to-point contacts and just going from one building to the next, was actually done by our ISP. So it was like AT&T would come in, they would show us where our gig bands were put in, and then basically they worked with and found an outside contractor to come dig the lines, dig the trenches, to lay the fiber and everything else into it. I want to say, if we didn't even, at the point at which we engaged our ISP, what we need to do, they already had the infrastructure of the people that they needed to get to physically make it happen, if that makes sense. So it might even help that when a company goes somewhere, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to get a list of, of IP addresses, they're going to get a list of statics. And so obviously their ISP will be heavily involved. That might be something that might be taken care of, or an ISP like AT&T or Comcast would have a division that did that. Because I remember the project manager I was working with, even when I was in Reno doing it, was in the Philippines. And I had to work with this guy who had all the IP addresses, all the MACs of all my switch equipment. And so literally, when we laid the infrastructure down, it was all done by a project manager who had all this done in the Philippines. So you might be better served to call someone like Comcast and tell them what you wanted to do, like this type, like HR, and they might tell you the division of people that do this type of projects. Because literally, when you go to engage and move somewhere else, you call the ISP first, because you're not going to lay down a bunch of work if they can't get you cable there or they can't get you wiring there, because they engage the ISPs before they do anything. And they mark down how many IPs they want, if it's a gigaman, if it's what they're going to be doing. And so that might be a very good idea to call Comcast HR and see, or AT&T, and see, where they have a project, how do you get on that team, and if not, who do they outsource to do things like this? I bet you that would be how you do that.
Yeah. It's just because like it just kind of popped into my head today. That's just because of the reality capture thing, qualifications and experience that I have. But one thing I do know with not all the buildings, but with some of the buildings I walked into, the amount of clearance I needed just to walk into a server room was kind of scary. I mean, obviously some places are significantly heavier than others, but some other people, they got the janitor opening up the door for you.
So they basically wanted your fingerprint, they wanted a blood sample, they wanted a urine sample, and they wanted like the secret handshake.
One of the places I went into, they knew how long I lived in France for.
Pretty scary. That's
yeah. I mean, if I said the name of the place, you'd be like, yeah, obviously. But
right. Well, you know what? Now that I think about it, honestly, like before we made any infrastructure for any new building or going to a new building off-site, you know, we already had our IP addresses and already had everything done that we needed to configure our routers with before we ever even got the hardware. Mm-hmm. So literally, before anything happens, you got to call an ISP to see where service is, because literally you're not going to build a remote facility where you can't get information to. So literally, they're engaged first, and I bet you that would be a really cool way to find out. And I bet you if they have their own division, you'd be the type of guy that they'd be tapping in to do things like that.
Yeah. I mean, another place to talk to probably, now I think about it, would be low voltage unions.
Oh, for power, absolutely, right?
I love it when I have a good idea for myself.
Right. Remember, but the servers and switches and things like that, that's all kind of like, you know, afterthought. The infrastructure of the connectivity is there before they even purchase that stuff sometimes, you know?
Yeah, the stuff that actually goes into the ground, like basically it's the wire that goes into, up until the wire that goes into the building. Like that's ISP almost exclusively. You know, but once it's in the building, how it gets distributed, that's sometimes a specialist's job, but it's also, you know, sometimes when you got racks and stuff and you don't, I think more of my idea is for buildings that don't want to pull everything out.
Gotcha.
They want to kind of figure out what's existing, what's useful, where it is, how it is, whether it's going to be relocated or where they can put stuff around it that needs to be around it. Mm-hmm. So basically, I'm hoping for faster clucks.
You got to think too. At that point, if they're calling a vendor up, you know, if you had a big move coming up, you think they would engage, you know, with an ISP, because who would they go to? They would just start calling around local tech companies. I mean, who are they going to get to do something like that? You know,
very few companies do it.
You think if they engage an ISP or if they engage the power people first, they might know someone like you that can do things like that. But a one-stop shop, I wouldn't know.
No, I think you'd have to be a bit of a jack of all trades and would have to be a specialty service that you offer for something bigger.
Sorry, my newly turned 3-year-old is having a breakdown over her phone, not playing YouTube for less than 24 hours in the day.
I bought a Kindle Fire for my not even 5-year-old, and I was surprised he didn't put it on charge last night, even though I bought him these little magnetic cables that just go click. But he still can't get that concept, and he doesn't. And he thinks, I don't know. I think he genuinely thinks that the iPad died just to spite him.
It hates me.
Actually, that's exactly what he said.
God.
And that happened just as, this is why I was 3 minutes late, was because that was still going on.
Hey, Juliana, any Halloween plans next week? Is your state opened up for trick or treating? I don't know if our state's open for trick or treating over here. I think she's deep in her class. Hopefully we can find a trunk or treat for our little one. She already has her Elsa costume. She better get some candy for it. Darn it.
Do the tooth fairy method.
So, the lab this week is pretty cool. You guys to check it out. If not, we'll do it together on Thursday next week for chapter 3. It's a couple videos. It's a cool videos to watch. A couple questions afterwards. Nothing too much. But real intense stuff. This cybersecurity course essentials is really drilled into you. You know, some fear. I felt some fear. A little bit of palpitations going on through these videos. It's kind of scary. And with this election, there's a lot of stuff going on with, you know, now Iran throwing their hat in the ring with hacking us, and Russia still with our election this year. You know, it's scary, especially when people look to us for transitions of power and just, you know, being a democratic republic. And it seems like people in the world are trying to prove us wrong, that we can't do this anymore.
I went onto my Facebook, and my friends in South Africa are having heated debates with themselves about the Republicans and Democratic things. Mm-hmm. And they're in South Africa, and they're like, oh, you Republican XYZ or you Democratic XYZ. Mm-hmm. And I'm going, oh, great. The American political race has now become a reality TV show.
Yeah. I think they're all, you know, we've seen countries everywhere, you know, denounce elections, and we've seen, you know, overthrows of power, and, you know, obviously America for 200 years, you know, has had a pretty nice transition, you know, power each time, but, you know, we have become our own worst enemies, you know, here in America, and I think we're just being exploited by other countries for just the things we already have going on here, and hopefully we can all rise above all the propaganda from both of our sides. You know, I'm a big proponent of getting more, you know, not just Republican Democrats. Let's get some Green Party, Libertarian. Let's get some real other people, some better choices out there. This two-party system, you know, is dragging us down. I think that if we all had more choices, I think we'd all think we're more represented. Instead of just picking the lesser of two evils, we can pick someone that we think really held our views. And I think it makes politicians really own up to what they're doing to America, and really own up to who they want to be to get our votes.
I think having a third part horse in the race, or whatever animal, would be a third party, because the donkey and the elephant's already taken. But anyways, it would be ideal. But I think just how the system, and I'm not in the Americans, so I know I'm talking about somebody else's politics and stuff. Please, it's not disrespectful to anybody. It's just, this is my perception. But I kind of feel that the system has been designed the way it was, like the way it's run. It was designed 200 plus years ago by very, very intelligent people that had foresight, and they predicted massive issues and inconsistencies, and they did their best to protect from what they saw. But you can't see 300 years in the future. You could not see social media. You could not see hackers and things like that. So there are now loopholes that are not easily closed, and that's what's being exploited to these days.
Right. I mean, if you just think about electoral colleges, you know, how crazy those are, or even senators, right? You know, people say in America, California has too much representation. You know, California has, you know, almost 10% of the population, and we only have 2% of representation in the Senate. Like, you know, that's how could that even be possible? You know, there's 35 million people in California, right? 350 million in America in total. It's pretty crazy to think about, just how it's represented. But you think people like Hamilton and and Washington thought everyone would just go equally amongst all the states. They wanted that everyone would just could pass up on our mass on the coasts.
Well, again, they looked at what is America's backbone, and that was agriculture,
Yes.
which agriculture is still a huge fundamental part of America's economy. Make no mistake about that.
Sure.
But how were people like Washington, Hamilton, and the likes supposed to have predicted Silicon Valley?
Yeah.
Like there was a desert out there.
I mean, they were betting heavy on the train and the steam engine, and it opened the coast up, and so yeah, you can only imagine.
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, I don't think they did their best to try button things up for the future, but like there's just no way you could see 300 years. Can you see 10 years into the future? What are we going to be doing?
I can even see 10 days at this point. You see these bills being passed or not passed about voting security, and then you watch videos online, where 15-year-old kids are saying they can walk up to any voting booth and hack into it, with the wireless on their laptop, knowing nothing. And they've proven it time and time again that they can control these voting machines. And I don't know if they say it's to discourage voters or if they're doing things in the background so that we don't have any kind of clue about what they are changing. But Jesus, it just seems so scary for kids and everyone to tell us how easy to be hacked. And being in cybersecurity and just knowing all the flaws and loopholes and backdoors put in systems, like, yeah, I mean, unless you go back to paper, which I'm all for, there's really no way to ever say that it wasn't hacked. Like even they wouldn't know till years after the president was elected that what was hacked or what wasn't.
Well, apparently there's a huge percentage of people that think they're really, really smart and clever. They mail their votes in the mail, and then they physically rush in to go physically vote, thinking that they can vote in time before the mail gets in, and then they can vote twice. And it's a very large amount of people that do that. Now, that's people that are not intelligent and really making an effort and trying to break the system. And if they could, you got a huge chunk of your population trying to do that. Now, you get one or two individuals that are motivated and are capable. And I don't think you're lacking that.
Yeah, voter fraud, we said before, voter fraud is very easy to catch, and which is why a lot of people don't do it. Like one lady got caught for voter fraud just because she voted in the wrong county or something, or I forget the details of it, but she was caught, and it wasn't even like it was her fault. It was like by accident, and she still got 15 years in prison for it. It's a felony, and it's like I forget the actual. So I can find it. It wasn't even her fault why she got it, but they charged her with it anyway. And yeah, it's sad, and people don't do it because it's so easily caught. I think last year there was like 60 votes that they caught in California that were voter fraud. It really is a very low threshold of people that try it, and when they do, it's very easily caught. But again, with the mail-in votes weren't as big as they are now, so that they could be trying to exploit something else. But at the end of the day, it's like, Jesus, is getting one more vote in worth going to prison? I mean, Jesus. I don't know. If you get 10,000 people to do it, then you might make a dent. But if 8,000 of them go to prison for it, I mean, then they're never voting again afterwards.
Well, if they're going to privatize prison system, I'm sure they'll be more than welcome to make the ballots easier to fraud.
Yeah, right. They're all worth money at that point.
Sorry, tinfoil hat. My bad. I'll take it off.
So here, I found it. It was North Carolina was prosecuted of using a voter fraud. It involved this lady in North Carolina, 32 years old, who voted in 2016 while on probation for a felony assault charge. North Carolina prohibits those on felony probation from voting. She said she had no idea she was ineligible to vote. Like it was never made clear to her she couldn't. But the district attorney in Hope County, where Butcher voted, decided to charge her with a Class 1 felony for voting while serving a criminal sentence. She faced up to 19 months in prison. So, I mean, some people don't even know that they can't vote, but look how easily they caught her. You know, it's like it's they have pretty easy ways of catching people. The dual thing, I'm sure, will be just as easy. I'm sure they have infrastructure in place to catch people trying to vote twice. But it's like, you know, we'll see what happens.
Well, I don't know how the system works, but from what I understand, you opt to go in person or you opt to mail. So if you opt to mail, you go in there and then it says, hey, you can't vote this way, you have to mail it in. So I think they turn people down, but I think the suspicion is that people are trying to be sneaky and vote twice.
Sure. I want to ask, I have my ballot. I haven't mailed it in yet. I'm thinking about taking it and bring it into the voting booth. Just like bring it to the, you know, on voting day, just because I don't, even though it's California and we know how they're going to go, I hate those machines. You know, they seem very, if you see the people like within the voting booths, you know, they take a hard drive out, they replace it back in. The people that usually do that part of the voting system or that cybersecurity part of it, that you guys going to bring a hard drive in and take it back out, plug it back in, must have like a hot swappable system in it that holds so many records or whatnot, which you got to think, I mean, one hard drive could have, you know, a terabyte of information on it. I mean, how many paper votes can you fit in that? Probably every vote in the world on the 2 terabytes. I mean, what is like an HTML page? You know, a couple of lines of text. So like, why would they keep having to rotate these things out? It didn't make sense to me. And then really kind of made, as I'm in the booth, like, just got to come over here and move the hard drive out. And I'm like, why would you do that in the middle of someone voting? You know, why would that be done multiple times in a day? Like, I don't understand any of those things. So it's always been, ever since we've gone to electronic voting, I've always been kind of skeptical of it. You know, it used to be a machine, you print it out, you push the buttons, you got a piece of paper, and you take that over to the guy, and you had your paper card all printed out how it's supposed to go.
Well, imagine this. Imagine the hard drive sits there the whole day, and then somebody that's in California that's pro-Republican, maybe spent a little bit of time in the military or psyops or whatever, and he's got a magnet gun.
Yeah.
And he sits and he points that thing at the hard drive that's been sitting there the whole day, mags the thing, and corrupts all the information.
Yeah.
So that's your whole day done. So systematic changing over periodic periods, making basically multiple. So if you do lose one, you don't lose the whole day's worth.
Sure. No, that makes
But then point of failure is you've got tons of hard drives that need to be accounted for, managed, and so it's the yin and the yang, I guess.
Yeah, well, even the like integrity machine, it was like really weird. Like it looked like it looked like an old IBM Think Center, switch, the little burgundy handles on it, you know.
Yeah.
And you have like an array server. Yeah. Or sorry, in a drive array. Looked like a hot swappable drive. It was really kind of weird looking. It was cool, but it was like, it was very kind of like off-putting to me when I was there.
I just had somebody that's a little knowledgeable of this type of stuff, and he told us, well, not that I can vote, but he told us that if you're going to vote, go vote in person with your ballot. No mailing or anything like that.
And you have to think too, I mean, we talk about cybersecurity. I mean, there is someone who built infrastructure for your state that does cybersecurity. There's someone that put in the systems in your state that's running this. So cybersecurity jobs, I mean, they're only multiplying. It's nuts for everything. And I'm sure that, when this election goes away, the next 4 years we'll be planning out the next one, the next systems, the next hardware, the next way it's going to go, and the way we're going to secure it. So cybersecurity is just, I mean, these jobs are going to be just taken off.
You got a World Cup coming here in about 8 years' time too.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's the world's most watched sporting event.
Uh-huh.
Over half the world's population, 3.6 billion people. and a lot of them come here directly. That's so cybersecurity. You've got people coming all over the world. It's easy to hide.
Yeah, it's scary.
So, yeah. So I think you're going to have to beef up for that.
So in 8 years, Giuliano, you have a new job being a cyber ops technician. Isn't it in Qatar? Isn't it in Qatar this year or next year?
Next year. Don't get me started on that one. I think it's going to be the first World Cup I'm going to boycott.
People are gonna die. I mean,
People have died.
running in that field in the desert. Like, what are you thinking?
Well, where do all the Syrian refugees go?
Right?
There's a reason why I don't want. I love my soccer, but don't think I'm going to watch that World Cup.
Yeah. One of these Irangi's getting another one on you guys. Yeah. So again, remind you guys, we do have a guest speaker next week. Michael will be here, and he teaches the Santa Rosa Cybersecurity Suite over there, and he's going to be here for us the first half hour, asking any questions you have about cybersecurity with jobs, and next steps after these courses on where you can get more training, where you can get internships. So please write down some questions. Be very be ready to be engaged with him, and make sure you offer him a lot of questions up, because he's taking a lot of time out of his day for us, which is really, really cool. Especially with someone who does this every single day for, hundreds of students in a day. This guy is going to be the guy that can really help you get on to where you need to go to next. And I'm really glad that he's coming on to give you guys some good insight. She's 3 and she runs the world. Also, you guys, you've gotten a survey about our course, about our class. Please fill it out for Michelle. I greatly appreciate it. It helps keep our class in check. Helps keep us offering the things that you want from us, and it will help to keep us more of an understanding of how you feel about our classes and where you think we should be going and what you want us to provide for you. So please fill those out for us, okay, guys? Juliana, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm just working on the next chapter.
Number 4 or number 3?
3.
Awesome.
Are you supposed to be on 3 or 4?
We're on 3.
Okay.
Make sure you do your quiz, okay?
Okay, I did my quiz on chapter 2. I don't know if it popped up on yours yet because I just did today.
Oh, might not. I'll check it out again. Again,
Okay.
it's all self-paced, but it helps me out. People miss a couple of questions on there, help me more fine-tune what we should talk about the next day. But for the most part, you guys always do 100% on those anyway, so you guys are killing it. Did you hear what I said about the survey?
Yes, I think I saw that come in a text message from you guys, and I went ahead and did it the other day.
Oh, you're the best. Thank you very much. All right. Again, we'll do the lab next week in class together. The lab for week 3. There's basically a couple of videos to watch, like two 5-minute videos and some questions. We'll answer them together in class. So if you see the lab, don't do it yet because we'll do it together.
Okay.
All right, guys. Whew. And get your questions ready too for next week too, Juliana. We have our guest speaker. Make sure you have a lot of questions that we don't waste any of his time. We will bombard him with as many questions as possible, okay?
Okay.
And I know you want to pursue a career in cybersecurity, correct?
Yes.
I'm going to let him know, or I'll let you let him know that where you are located, because you might even have resources out there, or at least where to go, where you're at.
Okay, great. I have my questions ready.
You can always just move out here, Gianna, to the West Coast.
I could.
As soon as it stops burning, please move out here.
I know, right?
Let's see, Montana's on fire now too. Jesus. Okay, it's coming to that time, so 8 o'clock. Again, please use me as a resource for any technology needs you might have. Any questions, believe me, I'm here as a resource for you guys for anything. I keep regular office hours. So make sure you guys have any kind of questions with, like I said, with resumes or jobs or internships or, you know, anything about the real world and getting jobs out here, what they're looking for, you know, or there's a job you want to apply for that you want to see if you know, if your credentials meet, please use me for all those things, okay? And if I can't help you, I can point you where you should go to get that help. All right, guys. Well, it's 8 o'clock. Yes, have a good night. Have a great weekend. Be safe. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye.